Hi, and welcome to another video for Redefining Sobriety. My name is Padgett, and I'm so glad that you're joining us here for these videos. So today's video is all about how to set yourself up for success mentally. So this is how you're going to build your bank of positive evidence that making a change is possible. So you might already be aware that sometimes you think you want to change, you've already kind of set your intentions, and you've maybe even talked to other people about it, or you've journaled about it. And then when it comes to actually making a change, it's quite challenging. And there are very important neurological reasons for this. We have neural pathways that have been formed and that are years and years in the making that allow us to respond to certain situations in a certain way. And it takes creating new neural pathways in order to learn how to respond to situations in a different way, and this takes practice. Another reason why it's hard to change sometimes is that we're actually hardwired to resist it. Change could equal scary in the past. It could equal the step into the unknown, which could equal risk. And so our brains don't like us to step into the unknown. Our brains are trying to protect us and keep us safe by keeping us with what is familiar or what is known territory. Now, this is kind of a tricky place to be when you know that you want to make a change and you don't like the behavior that's attached with what you've been doing previously, and you're not really sure what the outcome of the change is going to be, so you are effectively stepping into the unknown. There's a bit of a transition period that can happen. And what happens in this transition period is that the part of your brain that's the part that fears change is going to try to throw up all the roadblocks and barriers and reasons for you not to change. Effectively, reasons why you should stay the same, even if you're not 100% happy with what the same is. So let's say that you have been over drinking and you've been going out, and every time you drink more than you want to. So maybe you're not drinking every day, but every time you go out with friends and you say, you know what, I'm just gonna have one drink or two drinks, you say this to yourself, and then the night ends in way more than that. So you might know that you want to make a change because you're not happy with that behavior, but what your brain is going to try to do is convince you of all the reasons why it's too hard to not drink or not drink as much, all the reasons why you should be afraid of making that change. Maybe your friends are going to leave you, you're going to feel rejected, the date's not going to like you, the person that you're going out with, that you're going to feel awkward, that you're going to fail anyways, you're probably not going to follow through on your intentions, so why even bother start? And these are attached to our old stories that we have about ourselves. And our old stories do serve a very important function. They have kept us, as I said, kept us safe in a certain way. And they wouldn't exist if there hadn't been a role for them. But what we need to do is start to change the old story into the new story and start building the evidence that change is possible. So instead of looking for what is called negative confirmation bias, which is all the reasons why change is going to be really, really difficult, all the things you might lose, all the times you've failed before, you're going to start to look for positive confirmation bias, which might be that one time that you did go out and you didn't drink as much, or you did follow through on your intentions, or the night that you decided to stay in instead of going out. Excuse me. So I have created a really handy PDF for you. It's a worksheet that's really going to help you start to identify what the old story is and the new story that you're ready to change into. And in the beginning, it really is just a practice of starting to notice when the old story surfaces, and even having that conversation with yourself and saying, oh, hey, old story, I see you. I see what you're trying to do. Or, oh, that's interesting that you decided to show up right now. And just noticing what it is and noticing what the old story is saying to you. And then you can start to say, okay, well, what is the opposite? What is the new story that I want to be true? What am I working towards? I might not feel like I'm quite there yet, but this is the story that I'm working towards. So what you'll see in the PDF, which you can download in the link under this video, is that on one column, you're going to create one column, which is the old story. So for example, you might say, you know, I don't have my shit together. That's the old story. I can't get my shit together. Or I'm a total failure. Every time I try, I fail. Or you know, it might be around hating yourself or not being good enough to make a change. It might be about disappointing people in your life. I always let people down. This always happens. I'm always going to go back to, I'm always going to be a disappointment, or I'm always going to go back to my old behaviors. Then for each aspect of the old story, you want to start to identify, well, what is the new story? If you know that you don't want that old story to be a part of you anymore, what is the new story you're willing to explore? And you're going to see a column on the right hand side, which is all about, okay, so let's say that your fear or your old story is that you're always going to be a disappointment, you're going to let people down. So your new story is that I am a trustworthy friend and I trust myself. So I'm going to stop letting myself down, and I'm going to stop letting other people down. You know, if it feels like the story is always about the fact that it's really hard for you to control your drinking or your actions, the new story can be about, I am working towards gaining control of this area of my life. You know, I'm actively seeking more control and support and the support and strategies in order to be able to do so. So, you know, sometimes going to a complete, absolute opposite statement can feel like a bit too much for that part of your brain that's really resisting and holding on to the old story. So you might want to talk about it as a, you know, I'm open to seeing what this could be like. This is what I'm working towards. It is sometimes more comfortable for your brain to think about it that way, that it's something that you are exploring and investigating and open to seeing how things might be different. You also want to start really, again, like I said, looking for that positive evidence. And so part of the worksheet is also on a daily basis really recognizing something in yourself that's evidence that this change is possible. So let's say the change is you want to learn how to moderate alcohol, or you want to be able to go out and drink one drink and have it stop there. There's going to be a lot of fear attached to this, especially if you've tried to do it before and you haven't been able to follow through. So what's really important here is that you start to build the evidence for yourself of the times where you have been able to do it, the time where you did go out and you had just one drink, the times in your life where you have been able to control your alcohol use. And also the way that you've been able to have control in other aspects of your life, or the way that you've been able to overcome old stories and old habits in other parts of your life, or things that you knew were really hard, but when you really set your mind to it, you were able to follow through or able to change. And every single day, start affirming to yourself that this change is possible, that you can make this change. And also repeating to yourself what your vision is for yourself, what you're working towards, and what your why is. So effectively what we're doing is we're changing the conversations in our brains from one to I can't, or I won't be able to, or this always happens, or I'm stuck in the past, or I'm stuck in the old story, to I believe that this is possible. I'm working towards this change. Here is the evidence that this change is possible. And of course, this approach is one that you want to explore if you do not have a physical dependency on alcohol. If you have a physical dependency on alcohol, or you've never been able to go for more than a day without drinking, or in recent history, or you've also never ever been able to moderate when you have a drink of alcohol. If it always results in over drinking, then I would definitely recommend going to see an addiction specialist or an addictions doctor who can help you navigate this, because there is a small percentage of the population whose brains are hardwired for not being able to stop, and this technique isn't going to work for you if that is your situation that you're in right now. That being said, about 85 to 90% of us who have problems with alcohol sometimes can learn to moderate. And a lot of that is how we start to retrain our brain and the thoughts that we have around alcohol. So I look forward to hearing your thoughts on this video. Please let me know in the comments. Also, I look forward to hearing your thoughts on the worksheet and the PDF, so make sure to go and click on the link below and download that, and reach out if you have any questions or need support.